view. Have you ever felt like you were screaming at the top of your lungs, but no sound was coming out? Like you were trapped behind a wall of glass, watching the world go by, unable to connect, unable to speak your truth. That was my life for 10 years. 10 years of silence, 10 years of carrying a secret so heavy it threatened to crush me. I was the life of the party, the friend with all the jokes, the one who always seemed to have it all together. But on the inside, I was a ghost, a whisper, a story untold. And it all started with a single moment that I buried so deep, I almost convinced myself it never happened. This is the story of how I finally shattered the glass, found my voice, and took back my life. Growing up, I was never the quiet kid. I was loud, vibrant, and always had something to say. My mum used to say my voice could fill a stadium. I loved the sound of my own laughter, the rhythm of my words when I'd tell a story. My voice was my power. It was my identity. I was a debater in high school, president of the student council, the girl who wasn't afraid to challenge a teacher or speak up for a friend. My future seemed so bright, a straight path paved with opportunities I was eager to seize. I was going to be a lawyer, a politician, someone who used their voice to make a change. The world was my oyster, and I had the voice to command it. Then, one night during my freshman year of college, everything changed. I won't go into the gritty details of that night. The what and the who aren't the point of this story. The point is what it did to me. It was like a switch was flipped. The next morning I woke up, and the world was muted. The vibrant colors of my life had turned to gray. The voice that could fill a stadium was now a faint echo in a vast empty room inside my own head. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the girl staring back. Her eyes were hollow, her smile was gone. The silence was deafening. I told no one. How could I? The words were lodged in my throat, a solid lump of shame and fear. I felt like if I tried to speak about it, I would physically choke. So, I built a fortress around the secret. I became a master of deflection, an expert in changing the subject. On the outside, I put on a performance. I forced laughter. I plastered on a smile. I went through the motions of being the old me. Friends would ask, "Are you okay? You seem a little distant," and I'd wave it off with a joke. Just tired from studying. Or just in my head about midterms. It was easier to let them think I was stressed or moody than to admit the truth. I was broken. This silence seeped into every corner of my life. I dropped out of the debate team. My grades, once stellar, started to slip. I avoided social gatherings, creating excuses to stay in my dorm room. The girl, who once loved the spotlight, now craved the shadows. The fortress I built to protect my secret became my prison. The weight of it all was immense. I had panic attacks that felt like heart attacks. I had nights where I'd stare at the ceiling, replaying that moment over and over, while tears streamed silently down my face. My body was screaming for help, but my voice refused to cooperate. I felt completely and utterly alone, trapped with a monster that no one else could see. The shame was a constant companion, whispering lies in my ear. It was your fault. No one will believe you. You're tainted. Just forget it and move on. Years went by. I graduated from college, got a job, and even got into a long-term relationship. I was a high-functioning ghost. My partner was kind and loving, but he only knew the version of me I allowed him to see. He'd say things like, "I wish you'd open up more," and I'd just smile and say, "I'm an open book," was a lie. I was a book with the most important chapter ripped out. My inability to share my deepest wound created an invisible barrier between us, a distance he could feel but never understand. The silence wasn't just about that one night anymore. It was about the lie I was living every single day. I was suffocating. I knew I couldn't go on like this. The fortress was crumbling, and I was terrified of what would happen when it finally collapsed. The breaking point came in the most unexpected way. I was watching a movie, a scene where a character was sharing her own story of trauma. She spoke with such raw honesty and strength. As I watched her, something inside me cracked. Her words were my words, her pain was my pain. And for the first time in 10 years, I saw not weakness, but incredible, earth-shattering strength in speaking the truth. I sobbed, not silent, choked off tears, but loud, gut-wrenching sobs that shook my entire body. Too. It was a release, a dam breaking after a decade of pressure. My partner rushed in, alarmed, and for the first time, when he asked what's wrong, I didn't have a pre-packaged lie. I looked at him, tears streaming down my face, and whispered the words I had held captive for so long. Saying it out loud didn't kill me. The world didn't end. In fact, it was the opposite. It was like taking my first breath after nearly drowning. The lump in my throat dissolved, too. It was the beginning of a long, difficult, but beautiful journey of healing. I started therapy with a woman who specialized in trauma. She gave me the tools to dismantle the fortress, brick by painful brick. She taught me that the silence was a survival mechanism, a way my brain tried to protect me. She helped me understand that what happened was not my fault and that my voice deserved to be heard. It was hard work. There were sessions where I just cried. There were days I wanted to quit and retreat back into the familiar quiet. But I kept going. Slowly, I began to reclaim myself. I started journaling, letting the words flow onto the page without judgment. Then, I started sharing my story, first with my closest friends, then with my family. Each time I spoke my truth, I felt a piece of myself click back into place. The fear lessened, replaced by a growing sense of empowerment. The shame started to fade, replaced by self-compassion. The grey world around me slowly began to regain its color. I found my laughter again, my real, genuine, from-the-belly laughter. I rediscovered my passion for advocacy. The voice that had been silenced for a decade was not only back, but it was stronger, more compassionate, and more powerful than ever before, because now it was forged in fire and rooted in truth. My journey is far from over. Healing isn't a destination. It's a process. But I'm no longer a ghost. I am a survivor. I am a warrior, too. I am a woman who found her strength in her vulnerability. My voice is my power again, but it's a different kind of power now. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about speaking my truth, even when my voice shakes. It's about creating a space for others to speak theirs. You, out there, living in silence, carrying a heavy secret. Please know this, you are not alone. Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. Finding help is a sign of incredible strength, not weakness. Reaching out is the first step to shattering your own wall of glass. My silence almost cost me everything, but finding my voice gave me my life back, and so much more. My story resonated with you. If you've ever felt silenced or are on your own journey of healing, please consider subscribing. We're building a community here where every voice is valued and every story matters. Thank you for listening.